If the issue of electability has been very much in the news the last 24 hours, those of you who were on call yesterday know that we talked a lot about the importance of Senator Clinton making the case to Democrats that she was best able to face John McCain successfully in the fall. And we wanted to talk a little bit more this morning about the electoral map and why we believe that Senator Clinton is more electable than Senator Obama, and why that is critically important for Democratic voters making up their minds in the critically important upcoming primary states. And with that, to go into this at greater length, I want to turn it over to Mark.
Thanks, Howard. You know, I think that we have consistently made a case that Senator Clinton is more electable than Senator Obama, and that as poll numbers as the Senator Obama would be better known, more tested, that you would begin to see in the poll numbers an unmistakable trend that she is in fact more electable. And we see this both in the level of the constituencies that she has been attracting. She has been doing extremely well with working and middle-class voters. She's been doing extremely well with Catholic voters. She's been doing extremely well with women voters and extremely well with Latino voters. And again, if you go back to both in 2004, the critical swing voters turned out to be both Latino voters and security-interested voters. And if you go back through recent elections, whether it's the key swing voters have been among very much the groups that she has been attracting stronger support from, clearly in the primaries and these polls. I think that, again, it's hard to get to the presidency without Ohio and Florida. You saw recent polls come out in Florida where Senator Clinton was ahead in Florida by 2 points over McCain, and Obama was behind by 9 points. Significantly harder for Democrats if Florida's not in play. In Ohio, you saw Senator Clinton in the Quinnipiac polls, again, be 9 points ahead. Obama basically a dead heat at 1 point, 43-42. Notice that she's almost at 50 or at 48, which would be enough really to win the state with very little of the undecided, whereas Obama would be at 43, which would indicate that he's not even close to taking the majority that you need in the state. Again, it's a very similar pattern in Pennsylvania, a state that, while it has in the end gone Democratic in recent elections, certainly could become a swing state. Senator Clinton ahead 48 to 40. Senator Obama, again, at 43 to 39. A significant fall off in the kind of support that she's able to generate. Again, I think that we're seeing across the country. You know, if you look at the map in states that she won, that would be critical states, such as states like New Mexico, states that really could, I think, have a big impact. The theory without Ohio and Florida is that in many cases, you know, another candidate would have to go out in the Southwest. Yet, obviously, the Republican candidate is from the Southwest, and so it might make it harder to challenge him in the Southwest, whereas Senator Clinton does so well in the critical states, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Florida, that have been critical in the elections since 2000. I think then, if you're not just looking at the electoral map, and I think you've seen some analyses this morning that show that she would be somewhat ahead in the electoral map. There have been analyses that show that the states she's taken have considerably more electoral votes, and we expect that to continue to be true as we roll through Pennsylvania and other states. And I think that we've raised the larger issues, which is that that part of the vetting process has really been who is ready to be commander-in-chief. We believe that Senator Clinton is the most ready to be commander-in-chief and ready to go up against the Republicans who have traditionally run tough campaigns on security, and to successfully overcome that campaign because of her experience on the Armed Services Committee and throughout her life. And second the number one issue among the electorate is the economy. Yesterday we launched a 3 a.m. ad against which really brings out the policies of McCain really are no different than the policies of President Bush, and that he does not have the kind of experience, the kind of leadership that you really need to manage a complex economy, and that she would be unquestionably, of the candidates running, the best candidate in order to make our economy work and rebuild our middle class. And so we think those powerful arguments, which have been resonating very strongly in the kind of working class states and voters across the board, that really going to make a difference in the general election, mean that at the end of the day, she is the most electable against John McCain. She is the one to manage the economy. She is the one best able to be commander-in-chief, to be both strong and to set the right policies to take us out of Iraq. And then what we're seeing is that the polls are reflecting the arguments that we're making. And as we continue to roll through the rest of the primaries, we expect the map to continue to favor us. Of course, there are always some ups and downs. Somebody wins one or more primaries, takes them up or down. But we expect the overall pattern to continue to sustain this argument, and we think that there's significant fresh evidence now of that pattern. You're seeing that whereas Senator Obama used to boast that he had a big advantage against McCain in the national polls, that in fact that has completely evaporated, and that they're running exactly the same in the overall Gallup poll, and that now Senator Clinton has moved back within a few points of Senator Obama in the Gallup poll, and we still have a lot to go here in terms of both campaigning and votes. Howard, I don't know if you want to add anything?
Just real quick, and this is just something that we noticed this morning, and there are obviously lots of different analysis that one could do or look at, but for those who read First Read this morning, the NBC's morning email, it had an analysis of what they believe would be the two different maps, Obama versus McCain and Clinton versus McCain. And I think we would disagree with some of the analysis, but if you take it at its face, we have more base or lean electoral votes than Obama, 216 for us and 210 for him, so it's close, we're ahead. And then if you look at the states that are deemed the toss-ups for each candidate, we will have won. We have won all of our toss-up states but one in the primaries. So our toss-up states in the general, according to this analysis, versus McCain are states that we've already won in the primary and done well in, versus Obama, his toss-up states are states where he has lost 6 of his toss-up states. So we start out just looking at this analysis with more electoral votes, base or leaning, and then in the toss-up states, we have done much better in our toss-up states in the primaries than Obama has done in his toss-up states. And so just further reinforcing Mark's point about electability. And with that, we'll throw it open for questions. We look forward to questions on any topic. And operator, if you could open up the lines.
All right, reporters, if you have a question, please press *1 on your telephone keypad. This will place your question in the order it was received. Once again, if you have a question, please press *1 now, and we'll take the first question.
Hey, guys, this is Bill Salmon from the Washington Examiner.
Hey.
Do you have a reaction to Congressman Cleaver's remarks? I mean, what does it say about your chances for success when one of your own supporters says that Obama will win? First of all, and I have a follow-up.
Well, Congressman Cleaver is one of our great supporters. He's been a stalwart for us, and we are grateful for his ongoing support. We obviously disagree with that analysis for the reasons that we set out in this phone call, and we'll presumably be discussing for the next period of time on the call. But Congressman Cleaver is a very strong supporter of ours, and we're grateful for his support. And obviously, we believe that Senator Clinton will be the next president of the United States.
One of the things he said that caught my interest was he talked about how whites will basically disregard the questions of whether Obama has the experience or the credentials to be the commander-in-chief. He essentially said they'll vote for him because that'll allow them to sort of get the racial boogeyman behind them, is his words. I guess it's sort of like, assuaging white guilt. What is your reaction to that analysis?
That it's not something that I'm going to discuss.
All right, we'll take the next question.
Good morning, it's Andrea Mitchell. Hi.
Good morning.
Do you guys first have a reaction to the Obama figures, the March figures that they've now released? And can you give us what your March figures will be? Beyond, saying that that they're going to outraise you, could you give us something at all specifically about your figures? Can you tell us when you're going to release the tax returns? Is it going to be this week? And if you have a response to Corzine today.
What is it that I'm responding to that Corzine said?
Well, Corzine suggested that if the popular vote, I forget the exact quote for you, in fairness, let me get that for you, but he said on CNBC, I believe this morning, that if the popular vote does go for Obama at the end, that he would consider switching.
All right. Well, let me take those in turn. As you anticipated, our reaction to the Obama fundraising figure is that we knew that he was going to outraise us. He has outraised us over the last several months. During that period, of course, we have also raised a significant amount of money. We will have the resources that we need to compete and be successful in the upcoming primary states. He has already outspent us in Pennsylvania about 4-1. I anticipate he will outspend us at least 2-1 on TV going forward in Pennsylvania. I would remind everyone that he outspent us over 2-1 on TV in Ohio and Texas, and at a larger clip. And when you look at other forms of spending, we're able to win despite being outspent, and we expect to be successful in Pennsylvania and going forward despite being outspent in those states. The fact is that both of these campaigns are raising a considerable amount of money. We are both outraising Senator McCain, and the base of support that Senator Clinton has online has been key to this effort. Our online support continues to be very, very strong. We had a $1 million day online in the last day of the month of March, and it's that online support that continues to sustain us and ensure that we have the ability to do what we need to do. We will be releasing our figure at the time of the filing, which I believe is the 20th of the month. At least it was last month. I don't know what the exact day is this month, but we'll be releasing our figure at the time of the filing. With regard to taxes, Senator Clinton has said that they would be out. She said late last week that they would be out within a week, and so you can count on that. And with regard to Governor Corzine, I think a lot is going to happen between now and the end of the primary period. I think that the one thing you can anticipate in this race is that the unanticipated will happen. We are confident of our opportunities in Pennsylvania and moving forward. We believe that we are going to make the case that we need to make, that Senator Clinton is ready to be commander-in-chief, ready to be steward of the economy, and ready to be John McCain. We believe that Senator Obama has not yet made the case in those areas, and we expect continued success as we go forward. So I think a lot of folks are going to weigh in with opinions about the process. We welcome that. Governor Corzine is a strong supporter of Senator Clinton's, and let's see how the process comes out, and you can ask us that at the conclusion of it.
And I think, this is Mark, I think that we've consistently said that at the end of the primary process here, all superdelegates are going to take a look at this race. They're going to look at a number of factors. They're going to look at who has won the popular vote, including Michigan and Florida, how Michigan and Florida themselves get resolved, and how we count 50 and not 48 states. Senator Obama's lead is almost entirely from caucuses. Will he have a lead at all coming out of the high turnout primaries? I think that's certainly up for grabs, and we'll see what comes out after this next run of states, as well as who's in a better position then to take on and beat Senator McCain, given the overall closeness of this race, with very few delegates separating either of the candidates. And so I think all those factors are going to be looked at, and I think superdelegates are going to take a look at the race and do, what they think is the right thing for the party and the country.
And Andrea, this is Phil. How are you?
Hey.
I just wanted to make a reference. Mark mentioned a second ago Michigan and Florida and the need to seat those delegations. We are seeing an overwhelming and very energetic response to a petition that we launched late yesterday calling for the delegations from Florida and Michigan to be seated. Our figures show that just in the last 12 or 14 hours or so since the petition's been launched, we've got well over 100,000 signatures to that effort, and it seems to be growing by the minute. So I think that it's a sign of the both broad recognition and enthusiastic response that we're seeing to this petition, that Democrats recognize that there's an urgent need to get Florida and Michigan included in this primary process, that we need to be competitive in those states. As we saw yesterday in some polling that came out, Senator Clinton runs stronger in Florida, for example, than Senator Obama does versus Senator McCain. And as we all know, these are states that have played pivotal roles in general election battlegrounds. So I just wanted to make sure people know about this petition and that there is an extraordinary amount of energy behind it in terms of the response.
So following up on that, is it just a deal now where you're going to negotiate the breakout, since there aren't going to be redos? You can just negotiate the proportion of delegates and what the split is?
So, Andrew, there's currently a proceeding pending before the DNC, and with regard to seating the delegates from Florida, and we are awaiting the outcome of that process, of the rules and bylaws procedures, and we are hopeful that there will be a resolution. The most important thing here, though, is that the voters who came out to vote in Florida and Michigan, the nearly 2.5 million people, are recognized or included as being part of this process, so that we don't give the Republicans any kind of issue to use against us in the general election, and more importantly, that we honor and uphold a basic principle of our democracy, which is that we count all the votes in our country, not just those in 48 states.
And before we just take the next question, I would just add that one of the reasons, obviously, we believe that Senator Clinton is more electable and Senator Obama has a better chance of defeating Senator McCain is that Senator Clinton has embraced voting in Florida and Michigan, and Senator Obama has not. And we believe that that will have a very negative impact on Senator Obama in Florida and Michigan should he be the nominee. There is a clear choice that voters in Florida and Michigan have before them. One candidate wants to count their votes, the other does not. And should Senator Obama be the nominee, that his stance on this will hurt him badly in Florida and Michigan. Next question.
Hello, Jeff Kramer, Post-Standard, Syracuse. In the event that this race reaches the convention and Hillary is still trailing in pledged delegates and contest won in popular vote, would Hillary still consider offering Barack Obama the vice presidency?
Hillary has been asked about that and said that it is, there's obviously been discussion about that. There's interest about that on the trail. People bring it up to her. But it is premature to discuss it, and so I think I will stick with that.
All right, we'll take our next question.
Hey, it's John Dickerson from Slate. Mark, are you saying that Obama is fundamentally flawed with these constituencies and therefore incapable of winning them in the general? And I have a very quick follow-up.
No, what I've said is that he is weaker with these constituencies, and that she is better positioned, given her strength in these core constituencies, to beat John McCain in a general election, and that we're beginning to see very substantial polling evidence of that as the Republicans have a candidate, as the race begins to take some shape, and we believe that as a matter of current polling, we're beginning to see it in a number of states, but we also believe that that fundamentally, when you just go through the pattern of where she's been strong, and therefore it suggests where she would be, stronger in a general election, she has been strongest in a number of constituencies here that have been key components of the swing voters, and have been pivotal, both geographically in places like Florida and Ohio, and in terms of the overall electorate, in terms of for example, the security bombs, who were pivotal in 2004. And so I think we're beginning to see evidence now, and I think that there's an underlying argument here that's quite clear from the pattern of primaries and exit polls, where she would be strong, all of which adds up to the case that she would be a better bet for the general election against John McCain.
Okay, and my quick follow-up is President Clinton has reportedly said that Obama cannot win in a general, and I just want to be clear, that's not the case you're making publicly now.
No. That was Howard's no.
Okay.
I can add a mark, though. The case we're making is that she is the better bet to win against John McCain.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll take our next question.
Hey, it's Andrea Bernstein from WNYC. A couple questions about the polls.
Sure.
Why should we be paying attention to how people say they're going to vote in November and April? And also, can you explain the Pennsylvania polls that seem to show the race tightening? And thirdly, I'm wondering, Mark, if you have any polling evidence that the number of people who consider themselves economically disadvantaged or in more working classes, is that number of people growing as the economy seems to move southward?
Well, let's see. There are three questions. First, why should we believe in polls? That's why I said very carefully in the last answer, we're beginning to see the race take shape and beginning to see some of the contours of the race, and where you're seeing some findings like what you see in Florida, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, where I think you have to take note. None of these polls, I think you're saying exactly right, are fixed, and that's why I said don't just look at the polls that you're seeing, but are there some very strong reasons why those polls, are both, likely to both be true now and provide evidence for what could happen? And the backup for that is what I said in the last answer. I mean, look how strong she did in Florida. I believe she got more votes. She got more votes out there than McCain. You look how strongly she has done in the coalitions of voters that typically make up the swing voters, and then you're beginning to see a pattern of polls that supports that case running into the electoral map. And I think what I'm saying is you've got to put those arguments together. Anything can happen in the last several months of an election campaign, that's for sure. But I think that you've got to really kind of say, that what's going to happen here is that no one is going to reach the number of delegates necessary out of the caucus and primary processes in order to secure the nomination. And so superdelegates are going to take a look, and they're going to take a look both who's won primaries, who's won key states, who's got the core constituencies, who's won in the states, in these big states where, where the Democratic Party and millions of Democrats typically, are both strong and pivotal voters, and they're going to look at all of these factors and then make a decision. And so I think that's I'm not just looking at the polls as they evolve today, but I think they begin to show you what's going on, but I'm looking at the underlying pattern of votes we've seen. What was your second question?
Pennsylvania polls, and also are the economically disadvantaged a larger percentage of the population?
Pennsylvania polls, I think Senator Obama went on the air. He spent millions of dollars, got on the air before us. I think it's not unusual to see, some tightening. I don't think, there was a poll that had it at 19. I don't know that that's, we ever had it at 19. You have a number of polls that have it between 9 and 12. The movement wouldn't really be statistically significant given the large margin, and then you had one or two outlier polls. I think, I'm not sure that either of them were live interviews. One or two outlier polls that showed it closer. I think we've seen a pattern in which closer polls tend to get the most coverage in the electoral results, particularly in states, whether it was true in Massachusetts or in California, particularly, or even in Ohio. The final results typically have wound up a little stronger than the polls have indicated consistently, and the senators also often benefited from voters that made their decisions in the last couple of days, which has been, at least 20% of the electorates in most of
Let me, it's Howard. Let me also jump in on that. At the beginning of this race in Pennsylvania, the Obama campaign did everything it could to downplay expectations there. They essentially dismissed the state as just one more in a series of other states. And what we have seen is that Senator Obama has thrown enormous resources into Pennsylvania, outspending us, as I've said on TV so far, 4-1, anticipated to outspend us at least 2-1 going forward. He just, I believe, concluded a 6-day bus tour, or is in the process of concluding a 6-day bus tour. And so the Obama campaign is now fully engaged in the fight for Pennsylvania. They have thrown significant resources at it, the candidate's time and the campaign's money, because they know that the road to 1600 Pennsylvania goes through Pennsylvania. They know that no Democrat has a realistic shot of winning the presidency without taking Pennsylvania in November. And they understand, as we do, that Pennsylvania, absent the resource differential, ought to be a fair fight between the two candidates. It's a state that is diverse. It's, in many respects, a microcosm of the country. It's got urban areas and suburban areas. It's got exurban areas, rural areas. It's got older industries. It's got newer high-tech businesses. And so both sides are competing vigorously in Pennsylvania. Senator Obama clearly believes that he can win there. I think there's every expectation that he should be able to win there. And if he can't win there, it raises very serious questions about his ability to compete in these larger states, his ability to close the deal with voters, and his ability to be a strong contender against John McCain in the fall.
All right, we'll take our next question.
Hey guys, it's Mike McAuliffe. I just wanted to follow up quickly on Andrea's questions. Is there any particular reason that you're not going to release your fundraising for the month, number one? And number two, did you say there's every expectation that Obama could win Pennsylvania? What's your definition of doing well there?
We generally release our numbers on the day that the FEC report is due. That has been, at some points, the Obama campaign's practice. I think there may have been a month or two where we did it differently, but that's generally been our practice. And look, you'll be able to see how we're spending our money. We're going to have considerable advertising on the air in Pennsylvania and in the other states. And so that's what we're going to do with our money. With regard to your second question, I think, as I've said before, if you put aside the resource allocation issues, Pennsylvania should be a fair fight. Senator Obama ought to be able to win it. I think they expect to win it. And it is a key test for both candidates. If Senator Obama cannot win Pennsylvania, as I said, it raises questions about his ability to compete in the large states. His ability to close the deal, his ability to compete effectively against John McCain in November.
Right, there are lots of other folks setting benchmarks for you of you got to win by 8 to 10%. Do you subscribe to that at all?
No, I believe that that a win is a win, and that there's no reason why Senator Obama can't win there. I believe they expect to win there. They are certainly doing everything that they can to win there, and if they fail to win there, they will have failed in Pennsylvania.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Take the next question.
Hi, it's William Marsh with the Tampa Tribune. In terms of electability, will it have an effect on electability of either candidate if the primary fight goes all the way to the convention?
Well, I don't think that. I think at the end the Democratic Party will unify around whoever's the nominee. I think it's not been unusual in past history to have, conventions at which nominations took a while. And so far, I'm not sure that early nominees has worked to the advantage of the Democrats. I think you could make a very strong argument that that it allowed them to go after Democratic nominees early. And in this case, I think a nominee coming out of the convention, after the kind of enthusiasm that we've seen for the Democratic Party, could be in a very strong position, coming out of the convention relative to either something earlier or trying to short-circuit the process. I think the evidence is, as we go to state by state, that Democrats are being energized as never before, and that's a very good process.
All right, we'll take our next question.
Hi, gentlemen. This is Shane D. April from Politics Magazine. I want to ask a question about the new 3 a.m. ad, the economic one. Could you give me a scenario whereby a specific economic crisis would elicit a 3 a.m. phone call to the president, and who would be on the other end of that call?
Well, look, you'd have to get somebody from the White House, but it's a global economy in which markets around the world could have an incident that would necessitate action. I mean, certainly there are many things that could happen, throughout that. Or, for those of you that know, large deals and changes, many of them are done through the night and announced by 8:30 in the morning because they have to be announced before markets open. So, again, you could talk to a range of experts, but I think you have to look at the ad and say the ad, and as we use the 3 a.m. in this case, we're using it really standing for the overall metaphor of who's really ready to make the tough decisions that may be necessary in very complex economic situations, and not just tough, but complex decisions here, involving global, domestic marketplaces, Congress, spending, Federal Reserve, all of these things that have to come together, in relatively short periods of time now, to manage the economy through what could be critical circumstances and what, frankly, right now are very difficult circumstances. Senator Clinton warned more than a year ago about the importance and depth of the housing crisis, and the Bush administration continued to turn a deaf ear. And so had they, in fact, paid attention to the phone that was ringing on the housing crisis earlier, they might have saved a lot of homes that may go into foreclosure.
Yeah, I would just add that Mark's absolutely right. There are people who are obviously more expert in the context of the White House, but in a global marketplace where markets in Asia and other places have a significant impact on our markets here, you could get a call in the middle of the night about something that has occurred in a market in another country that would have a significant impact on our markets that would be opening up the next day. And then similarly, you could have a situation overnight with regards to a large American enterprise or business that would have a significant implication for the markets the next day. And so decisions would need to be made in the context of real time overnight. I think you saw that over that the team who was working on part of the government to deal with Bear Stearns was working through the weekend, and I'm sure was working late into the night over the weekend to ensure that Bear didn't have a meltdown that would have had serious implications for the market beyond what we have already seen.
All right, we'll take our next question.
Howard, this is Steve Scully. How are you?
I'm good.
Eastman. Listen, I wanted to get your reaction to a story that is just coming out this morning. Jimmy Carter, who is in Africa, indicating that in Georgia, the state went for Obama, that his hometown of Plains went for Obama. He went on to say that my children and grandchildren are supporting pro-Obama, and he said, I will leave it to you to make that guess. Do you have any reaction to that?
That both Senator Clinton and President Clinton have a great deal of respect for President Carter and have enjoyed their relationship with him over the years, and obviously he is free to make whatever decision he thinks is appropriate with regard to the presidential choice.
But any concern that he would be classified as a super delegate in this whole process?
Well, he is clearly a distinguished former leader of our party and is a superdelegate, and I'm sure that people will be interested in the choice that he makes. But no, nothing beyond that.
Howard, let me just follow up with another operational question. Let's make the assumption that you win in Pennsylvania. Indiana becomes a battleground. What kind of operation, though, ground operation, will you have in North Carolina, which by all accounts is shaping up to be yet another bellwether state for both campaigns?
Well, I would think it's probably best for us to put you in touch with our ace in North Carolina, that being Ace Smith. I can't resist making that that metaphor every time I say it. He can probably walk you through the details in a way that better than I could. But look, we are going to be competing vigorously in Indiana and North Carolina. I think you I'm sure have seen the same polls that everyone else has that has us somewhat behind in North Carolina, so I think that's where we start from. But every state is important from here on in, and we're going to compete in the upcoming states. But we don't want to look past Pennsylvania in any way, shape, or form. Pennsylvania is a big state with a lot of ground to cover, critically important in the context of next November, and so. We're obviously going to be doing everything we can to do well there, and then move on to North Carolina and Indiana, which are both 2 weeks after Pennsylvania.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll take our next question.
Hi, guys. Susan Milligan from the Globe, and thanks, as always, for doing these calls. I want to ask you about the states where you've talked about, where the senator has beaten Obama and that put her in a better position than the general, but how can you really project except in cases where you have, some head-to-head numbers state by state with McCain, how can you really project the Democratic primary trend in the general election? I mean, any more that I'm sure you don't think that Senator Clinton would not win Illinois or the District of Columbia or Maryland, how can you presume that Obama would not win some of the states in a general? And are you taking into account what I'm sure the Obama campaign would say is that maybe sort of young first-time voters or black voters might be angry that their candidate didn't get the nomination and stay home? Couldn't that affect the outcome in the general?
Well, first, I think that this is Mark. First, I think that whoever's the nominee, the party will unify. I think Democrats are looking to have a Democrat in the White House, and particularly with the gulf in policies between what Senator Clinton would do or what Senator Obama would do and what John McCain do. I think that either candidate will bring out a healthy turnout in the fall. And as I said before, in fact, the contest is energizing Democrats in so many states who otherwise would not have really been involved with the party until much later. And I think that again, what I said was a two-step argument. You are seeing clear evidence in polls when you look at states like Pennsylvania and Ohio and Florida that the kinds of coalition of voters. And remember that I believe there was a national. I think it was a Gallup or a Rasmussen poll that showed that 28% of those people voting for Senator Clinton wouldn't vote for Senator Obama, and only 19% of those voting for Senator Obama said the same thing. It indicates that she is winning the kinds of voters who have crossed over in the past and made the decisive difference, and that any analysis of those voters, as I said, when you look at the women who have been pivotal from 96 in the elections, when you look at the state of Florida that was pivotal in 2000, when you look at the state of Ohio that was pivotal in 2004, and you see the differences in how they are polling in these states, and then when you look at at working class voters who, back to Reagan Democrats, have been absolutely pivotal in this election. And the newest and fastest growing segment of the electorate, Latinos, in which she has consistently won, and not everywhere, but in most of the places, a 2-to-1 victory, all suggest she's in a stronger position to take those constituencies in a general election, up against the candidate who, has a significant record on defense, who is from the Southwest, who has been trying to put together a coalition for immigration reform, who is well positioned to try to take some of the groups that we have taken, that we believe she is the best positioned to keep in the Democratic column. And as I've said, when you're looking at the candidate, that she is the best positioned to do that, based on the evidence we have of the emerging polls, the groups that she has taken, and the emerging characteristics of the people in this race. And again, the 3 a.m. ad today makes the point clearly that she is the best person to be, the steward of the economy in a fast-moving economic environment here. That itself is likely to prove absolutely pivotal in any election.
Okay, thanks.
And we'll take our next question.
Sorry, I got to jump off.
Okay, this is Rodney Livingston at SPNN.NET Television Network here in Washington, D.C., and whoever jumps off, just if the remaining people could announce themselves. What's the best time to settle Florida and the superdelegates, and does it change if it's settled after the primaries or during the convention? And then the follow-up question, this is a convoluted question, but the shortest way to say it is in that way. What are the attributes for the presidency that's used in the primary that the voters may not understand, may be missing, may be hidden in some way, that you'd want people to consider?
This is Phil Singer. I will I'll let Howard deal with the second question. But with regard to Florida and Michigan, we think there's no time like the present. Both in terms of honoring the bedrock principle that America was founded on, counting the votes, as well as the political practicality of making sure that Democrats are competitive in these states, that we don't give Senator McCain an issue to use against us in these states. There's an urgent need to count the votes in Florida and Michigan, and that's what we're trying to do now. I alluded earlier to a petition that we've kicked off where we've seen an overwhelming response. There's clearly a broad recognition on the part of Democrats throughout the country, as well as obviously in Florida and Michigan, that these states should be counted, that we have 50 states in the United States, and that ensuring the integrity of the nominating process and ensuring that all states are counted is a key part of making sure that Democrats run a strong campaign going into the fall. So we would like to see these states included now. We don't think that there should be a delay. And we, as always, call on the Obama campaign to join us in supporting that effort. And I will send out a copy of the petition so that everyone has it as well. And we'll keep an eye out on your email box for that, or go to HillaryClinton.com.
Okay, and then for the superdelegates part, it's better to address that. There had been talk earlier in the week of a mini convention prior, but the benefit that you're saying is the most benefit is to count those Florida and Michigan now. What's the most benefit with the superdelegates at the convention or prior?
Well, I think, this is Phil again, I think superdelegates are evaluating the respective candidates and making the decisions when they get to a place where they are ready to make an endorsement. I don't know if it's a question of is it better now, is it better later? It depends on the individual and the way they go about making their deliberations.
And then finally, before we move on, as to sort of the secret or hidden attributes, look, I think one of the greatnesses of our process here is that during the course of this long primary season, voters reporters get to see these candidates up close and do get to have a sense of them as people. That sense is not perfect, but I don't know how much about anybody would be significantly hidden at this point. I do think it is fair to say that Senator Clinton has been vetted much more vigorously than Senator Obama over the course of their careers, respectively. I think there is much more that can be learned about Senator Obama's legislative record and other areas, like his relationship, as I've said before, with Tony Rezko, than we currently know. But I do think that the process does tend to reveal a fair amount about these candidates in the course of the campaigns.
Thanks, gentlemen.
We'll take the next question.
Hey, Howard, Phil, it's Sam Stein with the Huffington Post.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good, thank you.
Quick question about electability. I was hoping Mark would still be on the call. The issue of favorability ratings, I don't know how much significance you guys are giving them, but in survey after survey, it seems that Senator Clinton's favorability ratings are worse than Senator Obama's. Could that not be a obstacle come hypothetical general election matchup with John McCain?
I think if you look over the course of the period, and there's obviously some deviation from time to time, but if you look at the course of the period, Senator Clinton's unfavorable ratings have remained largely constant. She is known by many people at this point, whereas Senator Obama's have grown considerably in the course of this contest. They've grown, I think, by at least 50% and maybe more, and that's obviously before he has been on the receiving end of any significant Republican criticism or attack. And so I think it's fair to say, given that and given the fact that our two most recent nominees, both of whom were very good men and, in my opinion, would have made exceptional presidents, went through a process in which their negatives grew significantly as they were subject to Republican attack. It is fair to say that Senator Obama's negatives would grow even higher. And so then you've got to look at other factors, as we've set out in the call today. And we believe, for many different reasons, when you look at the electoral map, Senator Clinton is much better positioned to defeat Senator McCain than Senator Obama. And just to begin to end up where we began, you look at Ohio and Florida, two of the critical red states that a Democrat would try to win against John McCain. We are much better positioned in those states than Senator Obama. In Florida, of course, we beat Senator Obama, and now I think Senator Obama has been significantly weakened by his efforts to disenfranchise voters there. In Ohio, we beat Senator Obama despite being outspent considerably, and we beat him on the strength of performance in areas that George Bush had done well in versus John Kerry, so places where a Democrat would really need to do well in order to make up the deficit in 2004. And then if you look further out, Arkansas is a place where we believe we are much better positioned against John McCain than Barack Obama. New Mexico, another red state that we won in the primary, we are better positioned there. Nevada, another red state, we won the primary, we are better positioned there. And then if you look at the blue states, certainly Senator Obama has hurt himself in Michigan for the same reason he has hurt himself in Florida. He is systematically attempting to disenfranchise the voters in Michigan, and I believe, should he be the nominee, he will pay a price for that in November. So we believe, again, that we are much better positioned run against John McCain than Senator Obama is, and we believe that that is something that voters should and will take into account as they make their decision in the coming weeks.
Can I ask one quick follow-up? The Obama camp sent out a USA Today editorial this morning about donors to the Clinton Foundation. I'm sure you've covered this topic ad nauseum, but what is the reason why the list of those big-time donors is not available to the public?
When the president was soliciting donations to his foundation, those donations were given on the basis that the donors could remain anonymous, and that is not an unusual practice in the world of philanthropy. There are many donations that are given to institutions that do good works in which the donors choose to remain anonymous. So that is going. That is certainly the case there. But going forward, should Senator Clinton be elected president, President Clinton has said that he would make any future donations public, so that people would have a right to know that their donations would be made public, and those donations would in fact be made public.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. We'll take one more question, and I should note that I'm not sure it's a sign of anything in particular, but the Huffington Post and the Drudge Report have the same headline up this morning. So an interesting confluence of events. We'll take one more if we could, and then we'll call it a day.
We'll take our last question.
Hi, it's Tom Namico from the Philadelphia City Paper. Can you give me something more concrete on the idea that Obama early on disregarded Pennsylvania? I mean, just here on the ground, it was pretty obvious that his campaign was more organized before Hillary's was even here. And as a follow-up, can you compare for me Senator Clinton's field operations in Pennsylvania against Obama's, please? And I think there's a perception that his is a little more grassroots and organized than hers.
Let me ask that. You may want to put your phone on mute. I just get a little echo there.
How's that? Good.
Great. I can get you the quote. Maybe Phil has it at his fingertips. When David Plouffe, our friend in the Obama campaign, the Obama campaign manager, did a call or put out a memo about the upcoming states in which he clearly attempted to downplay the importance of Pennsylvania. I can, if you want to shoot us your email,
yeah,
I'm happy to send that to you. And then probably best in terms of the actual on the ground details to get in touch with Mark Nevins, who I don't know if you know, but if not, I'll be happy to, when you shoot me the email, I'll be happy to forward your email on to him, who is our sort of man on the ground from a communications perspective in Pennsylvania, and he'll be able to sort of walk you through our operation there. I would say this, I hear what you're saying with regard to the perception, and what I find interesting is that despite being outspent by Senator Obama thus far 4-1 in Pennsylvania, that we have retained a lead that we went into Pennsylvania with, at least as far as polling is concerned. And I believe that belies the theory that you've laid out. I think that Senator Clinton's support in Pennsylvania is strong, it's deep, it's organic, and it's grassroots. And if we could survive the onslaught of paid media that Senator Obama has been throwing our way heretofore, I think it suggests something very strong about our support in Pennsylvania. And in fact, we have a very good grassroots operation there, and supporters who feel strongly about Senator Clinton, despite being 4 times as many ads about Senator Obama than they've seen about Senator Clinton. With that, I'll conclude, and I will thank everybody for getting on, and we'll look forward to speaking with you all again soon. Thanks, everybody.